31 and 32 we have finished, and we will do the last two verses today. And what we had discussed in the last two verses, one important question there, Bhagavan had mentioned that the power of surrender, the power of getting connected with me is so high that even if you sort of try to do anything, you can do certain other things, and yet it will powerfully remain, and so because you will remain connected, you will benefit. That's what he sort of trying to assure his devotees. And if you sort of remain devoted, you would always sort of you would get this benefit, you know. And so there are two things what he mentioned here. One is that by being steadfast in your devotion to me, it will be very easy for you to sort of not get distracted by anything whatsoever because you are kind of surrendered to me. Apiche sudrachar bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva mantavya samyak vyavasito hisha. Even though you may be doing a lot of other things, you may have a lot of past distractions, you may have committed a lot of errors. Once you have come to me and taken refuge in me, there is no turning back, provided you are steadfast in your attention towards me, and whatever path I'm showing you, there's going to be no problem. The second thing he mentions is that the past need not be a drag on you, as I was discussing it yesterday, that sometimes we may, while making a spiritual beginning in life, may be bogged down by a lot of doubt and confusion. And, as some, lot of spiritual autobiographies and biographies that you read, I'm just currently reading a very interesting book by somebody called Rampuri. It's called An Autobiography of a Sadhu, and he writes as to how you may be struck with an element of self-doubt and fear and confusion, and they'll come and kind of dissuade you from going on the path which you have already embarked on. You want to go on that path, but these past sanskaras and these past emotions might sort of intervene and prove to be an obstacle or roadblock in your progress. So, this particular verse number 30, as we were discussing yesterday, is a great source of assurance and motivation for anybody who is struck in life at a particular moment, a little depressed or unhappy or anything. Bhagavan says, take refuge in me. Once you have that, you shall be considered to be sadhu. Why? Because you have a bad past. But Bhagavan says, no, you are Satya Sankalpa. You have embarked on a right path, and therefore, this particular decision, this particular resolution in you to be on the right path is the best shield against any kind of traumas or past what they call in psychological intrusive thoughts. Like, for example, there's a relationship and that relationship breaks down, and then uh, you have to make a new beginning, but you have to make a new beginning, but you are unable to make a new beginning because those thoughts, those losses, like you made a big business loss, they might keep interfering with your new beginnings, new efforts. And Bhagavan says, don't worry about it. Once you have taken refuge in me, Samyak Vyavasito, once you have done, it's very comprehensive. And the grace that you will benefit from by taking my name is what is going to keep you in good state. Having said that, then he assures, Kipram Bhavati Dharmatma, Saswat Santim Nigachati Kontya Pratijani, Saswat Santim Nigachati Kontya Pratijanihi Name Bhaktah Pranashyati. And secondly, he becomes a Dharmatma. Dharme Atma Yasya, Dharme Chitta Yasya. Person, his mind is very quickly established in a very auspicious attitude, a pious frame of mind. Why? Because the moment you start chanting my name, that means the moment you get connected with the divinity, however powerful may be the past impressions, the past papas, or any sort of mistakes that you have committed, The divine name is the biggest obstacle before those past stories to disturb you. These past enemies cannot harm you because between them and you now, there is a wall of faith and surrender to the God. And that particular works as kind of a, it's the best defense system you can erect against what they call post-traumatic stress disorder or manic depression. So many issues people are struck with in midlife crises, and lots of people, it could be that you wanted a certain promotion you didn't get, or maybe a relationship problem, or maybe a business loss, anything. In sadhana, maybe you started a japa, but it didn't work. All this, but Bhagwan says, I'm reassuring once you start the new life, it's going to change you very quickly. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma saswat santim nigachati. And you are moving towards permanent happiness and peace. And what is that? That means essentially he's assuring you that moksha, or self, or atmajnana, self knowledge, you are going to get it. And he's kind of motivating you because he knows it's a long path. It doesn't happen in a day. It's not about, because Bhagavan has already says ananya chitaha, and then he has also said that you have to do it nitya saha, and and chirakalam, you have to do it for a longer period. All that he has mentioned earlier, how to reach him. He's saying sadhu reva samantabhya and pratijanihi name bhaktah pranashyati. And there is one doubt, as Madhusudana yesterday said. I'm just repeating it because we sort of hurried through that yesterday. And there is doubt in the mind of Arjuna. Kaschid bhaktah prag abhyastam. There is a bad habit. Maybe he was a juari, he was a gambler, or maybe he had some drinking problem. Kvaschid bhaktah pragabhyasta duracharatvam atyajan. He's not been able to, what do you call it, drop that bad habit, or maybe drinking or smoking, or maybe visiting the wrong places for gambling or anything. Atyajan na bhavet dharmatma. He cannot be a dharmatma. How can you say he'll become a dharmatma when the bad habits are still surrounding him? Tathacha sa nasyed, and therefore he'll die. He'll get destroyed. He cannot have Saswat Santi, that particular Nitya Santi, he cannot have access to, that Atmagyana. And Bhagavad says, na ityaya bhakta anukampa paravasataya, out of great compassion for his devotees, Bhagavan, kupita eva Bhagavan, he's getting angry. What are you talking about? You know what you said? These are my devotees, they are surrendered to me. Whatever he is, wherever he's coming from. The best example is Vibhishana. He's coming from Ravana's family. Once he comes to Lord Rama, Bhagavan alters his destiny. And anybody interested in altering destiny, Bhagavan is giving this word. Have faith in me and surrender. Get connected with the right path. And he's saying, Gupita Bhagavan says, no, etad asarjya manvitha he kaunteya. Don't think it's very difficult, it's unimaginable, it's impossible. Don't use those words. Nishchitam eva idrisam madbhaktehe mahatmyam. Once a person has declared himself my devotee, you please understand that he has to get liberation. I'm going to back him up. Ato vipratipananam purastad api tvam pratijanihi savagyam sagarvam cha pratigyam kuru. Go and declare to the people who are speaking against you, speaking against devotion, against spirituality. Go and declare before them. Beat your drums and declare with a lot of arrogance. Do it, not a problem. But what are you arrogant about? You declare to them saying that Name Bhaktah Pranashyati, my devotee shall never get destroyed. Name Vasudevasya Bhakto Ati Duracharopi. They may have been papis in the past, but now they're taking my name, Prana Sankatam Apannopi, even though they are right there facing a deep crisis in life. Sudulhavam Ayogyaha. This Atmajnana is Sudulhava, very difficult to get. And they don't have Yogyata because they haven't done much punya. They have just started taking my name. Even then, San Prarthya Mano Api, and there the Ati Muda Asurunapi, maybe they are not 100% surrendered to me. Bhagavan is being very liberal. He's making a big promise here. Not Pranashiti, no, but he cannot get destroyed. Why? He has already latched onto a lifeline. That is the divine name. Faith in the divine is that lifeline. So, in the most desperate moments of our life, if anybody ever approaches you for help, this is the verse to be read. And Bhagavan says in verse number 30th and 31, there is no room for any desperation. If you have known the past to me through my holy name, you shall not get destroyed. And these are two important things that we need to keep in mind, especially during this corona times, because a lot of people are passing through a lot of difficulties. Mangi partha vyapasiti, and by taking refuge in me, yepi syuh papa yonayaha, even though those are born in adverse situations, I've mentioned that it looks like a very bad sociological text, Striyaha Vaishyas Tatha Sudras, whether he's born in a Vaishya family or a Sudra family or as a lady, because we're talking about historical conditions in those days, they didn't have right kind of access to Sanskrit education. So Bhagavan is mentioning it, but we have to look at it in a symbolic way that those who are born in constraining life situations, structural difficulties, inequalities, they're struck by those difficulties, which are very endemic to their life, even then. Once they have surrendered to me, tepi yanti param gatim. They also go to the ultimate destination. That is self-realization, atmachyana. And then he say, Evang chit, king punah brahmana punya bhakta rajasayas tatha anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. And then Bhagavan says, you are born in a royal family. So he's talking about the middle classes now. Now, here, this Brahmana, what to talk about Brahmins and the royals, is Kshatriyas, they'll easily get liberation. What Bhagavan is saying, is he talking about castes? Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people, especially the Westerners, will try to interpret it that way, but please look at it. He's essentially talking about even the people who are born with loads of tamasic sanskaras, okay, they also shall be liberated once they surrender to me, and those who are moved by the principles of rajas and sattva, which are superior to tamas, what to talk about them? Because a person, who is very depressed or very lazy or into a lot of bad things, in what state he is? He is in tamasic state. And Bhagavan says that in order to be sattvic, first you have to break your tamas by being active, doing something physical and mental. If nothing, start remembering, you know. If you can't do anything, start remembering a phone book, but you start remembering something. You have to ignite that energy field in you. Start doing something. That's why in all ashrams, the new sannyasis or brahmacharis who come, they are asked to maga Bhagavad Gita or maybe do Panini Sutras. Why? Because the mind will try to recollect its own energies by retuning its attention to the demands of having to remember something. If you try to do, even mathematics is extremely good. If you do mathematics or puzzles or riddles or crossword, or you do play some people do Sudoku also, and but someone said it's not great. But if you're doing crossword, you play certain other mathematical brain teasers. Now there are hell of a lot of brain tuning games available on the internet. So you play these, you activate your energies, the cognitive energies. Similarly, you active your physical dynamic energies by doing yoga or pranayama is a great way to reactivate the energy centers. Once you do that, then you can do japa and meditation and studies and stuff like that to graduate slowly to the sattvika state. The Yoga Sutras we have already discussed, and Bhagavan says, King Punha Brahmana Punya Bhakta Rajarshaya Tata. The Sattvika people, here Brahmana, I do not personally take it as Brahmin caste because we have enough of bad people born in that caste because that has lost its significance historically. Any particular caste per se is neither good nor bad. But here, what you're trying to say is those who are having those qualities, the sattvika qualities, and who are devotees, bhaktaha, those who are connected with the divinity, and then rajarshayas tatha, the rajarsis. Because most of these great tweeted, books and many sutras and all were written by a lot of kings earlier, and they were rishis, rajarshis, tatha, rajarsayas, tatha. Anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. Why he is saying this? It's like this, that you are in a privileged position for a while. So imagine that somebody gives you the keys of one of the best libraries on earth. What will you do? You will try to, you cannot read all the books, but you will try to photocopy as many books, and maybe you will try to digitize as many books because you are there for 15, 20 days, and your favorite books you find out, you prepare a bibliography, you will do whatever you want to do within those 15, 20 days, so that when the keys of the libraries are taken away from you, you have enough material with you to study for a long period of time, isn't it? Similarly, Bhagavan says that you are lucky enough to be born as a human being. If you are an animal, you will not know this papa punya. If you are a devata, you will not have right to do punya karma. They have no karma adhikar. They have only jnana adhikara because they don't have a physical body, and they only have a subtle mind and a subtle body. They have jnana adhikara, but liberation is much harder for the devatas because the pleasure which is laid right before their eyes is just infinite in Swarga, and no pain. They have enormous amount of happiness there. Whatever they wish gets fulfilled, right? And therefore, it's very difficult for them to think about liberation. And it's much easier to think about liberation when your life is not that attractive, like on Matyaloka. So it's considered a spiritual privilege to be born here. And he's saying, Anityam Asukha. It's anitya because it's not going to last too long. Don't postpone, Bhagavan says. You never know how long you'll be here. One accident, one attack, and you are gone. Number two, it is also asukham. With a lot of difficulty you have come here. Garbhavastha and all sorts of difficulties, childhood problems. Lokam imam prapyo, you have got this with a lot of difficulty and for a very short period of time. And therefore, bhajaswamam, you meditate on me. So let's quickly look at the Sankara Bhashya and what he says, and we'll look at also our Madhusudana. So I'm just looking at the website on the screen, and so Sankara Bhashya, what does he say? King Punah Brahmanaha Punyaha Punya Yonayaha. So, because it's a traditional interpretation where Brahmana is taking the Brahmana caste people, and because they have done some punyas that they are born. I'm talking about a historical context, Bhaktaha, and they are kind of doing bhakti, they have a lot of connectivity with me. Raja Sayaha, Raja Rishis, Raja Sayaha, Tatha Rajanaha, Cha Te Rishayascha, iti Raja Sayascha. So, there were a lot of royal family people who are born in royal families, but they were spiritually extremely evolved, like Janaka, you had another character like Vishwamitra. These were all extremely enlightened people, but they were born in royal families. Okay, so they are Rajarshis. Yataha evam ataha anityam kshanabhanguram asukham sukhavarjitam imam lokam manushya lokam prapya. You have got this manushya loka, it's kshanabhangura. It can break down any time. It's very fragile. Sukhavarjitam, whatever you call Sukha is carrying seeds of Dukha here. Loka Manusha Lokam Prapya, that is what you have got. Purushartha Sadhanam Dulhavam Manushyatvam. And it's very difficult to do Purushartha in the right way. Half the time you are blinded. Manushyatvam Labadva, you have got it. Bhajaswa, make use of these great opportunities. Sevaswa Mam. You try to do my seva. Katham. And he will mention that in the next verse. Okay, and other commentaries are not important. Let's look at what Madhusudana Saraswati here says. Punyaha sadacharaha uttamayonasya brahmanaha tata rajarsayaha shukshma vastu videkinaha. So there are two ways in which he's resolving this apparent conflict between what we call, you know, what does it mean to be born in this sort of a privileged social situation? He's saying that uttamayonayasya brahmana tatha sadacharaha, because that is, you can say, it's a kind of acculturation thing. So you're born in a certain aristocratic family or a good educated family, so a lot of things sort of come very close to you, easy to you. You have advantage of going to teachers. And the second one is it's like being born in today's world. Who is that? Maybe somebody who is born in Oxford Village or Cambridge, born to a great professor or great scientist. So by the time other students start learning what it is, he has access to a great library and he can ask his dad for a lot of, uh, you know, academic guidance. So he's much evolved if he wants. Most of the time, he might turn out to be an idiot, but in case he's interested, he can actually do and achieve a lot. Rajasayaha. Who is that Rajasi? Raja and Rishi at the same time. Shikshma Bastu Vivekinaha. So they are the ones who have an eye for subtle objects, that is, not interested in the kingdom, in the armies, and name and fame. They're looking for the meaning of life. Kshatriya Mama Bhaktaha, and they are my devotees. Param Gatim Yanti, the King Punarvachyam Atra. So, what is to talk about it? When I'm saying that, irrespective of your Purva Sanskara, Apiche Sudarachara, or Papa Yonayaha, born in very difficult, challenging situations, once a person is surrendered to me, he's here to get self liberation, self knowledge. Have I said that? Yes. Which means those who are born in conditions of privilege, apparent privilege, easy access to knowledge and guidance and training, of course they will get it much more easily. Kasyachid api sandeha bhavat ityartha, therefore there is beyond any doubt. Ataha mad bhaktir idrisho mahima ato mohata prayatnena imam lokam sarva purushartha sadhana yogyam ati dulhabam. This is the only loka where you can do dharma, artha, kama, moksha, all. You don't have this privilege even in Shwarga Loka, in Deva Loka. You don't have that. And therefore, he's saying, oh, Arjuna, please understand this and you focus on me and steadfastly you try to do as I'm advising you. यतो मद्भक्ते दृश्यो महिमा अतः महता प्रयत्नेन imam lokam sarva purushartha sadhana yogyam ati dullabam cha. So this birth as a human being is a rarity and you have that privilege cha manushya deham anityam and the asu vinasinam asukam garvavasadi aneka dukkha bahulam labdva. So you have got this human body and a human mind as a result of a lot of difficulties that you have passed through, right from pregnancy and then childbirth and childhood health issues and stuff like that. And then this particular privilege you have where you can read and study and do dharma, artha, kama, moksha, this is also a very short-lived opportunity. And therefore don't allow this to slip out of your hands. Okay? Yavat ayam na nasyati tavat atisigram eva bhajaswa. Before this opportunity slips out of your hands because of corona or any other problem, remember me, take my name. Mam saranam asrayasva. So why don't you surrender to me? Take refuge in me. Anityatvad asukhatvad cha asya bilambam sukhartham udyamam cha ma karshi. So don't try to have any delay in taking a decision to start doing bhajana, kirtana, Shravana, Manana, etc. Because it's anitya and it's painful. You don't know when the pain is going to come back in the form of a physical problem. So don't do any bilamba, no delay in starting a right thing, a good. Subhasya sigram. Cha rajasihi ataha mad bhajanena atmanam safalam kuru. Therefore, why don't you succeed? Why don't you make it a great privilege? Why don't you help yourself have greater realization of who you are and why you are here and what you can realize in life. Anyatha, hi etadrisham janma nisphalam evate syad. If you are not going to do this, then this life you have, which is a great opportunity to realize what is the purpose of our being here, that's going to slip out of your hand. You're going to get older. Your resolution power also will become weaker. So before you are a spent force, before it's very difficult for you to do Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, you have already listened to half of Bhagavad Gita, and therefore Bhagavan is telling Arjuna, focus your attention well on me. And then in the next verse, he's saying how to do it. Bhajana prakaram darsayan upasangharati. He now brings this whole discussion in chapter 9 to a close in the verse number 34. What does he say? Manmana bhavamata bhakto madhyaji mang namaskuru mame vaisyasi yuktyagam atmanam matparayanam manamana bhavamata bhakto. Be mindful of me. Man mana, mat mana. So your mind should be in me. Madhavakto, so be a devotee of me. Madhyaji, do my pujanam, do these rituals and some prayers and whatever, do some anushtanas. Mang namaskuru, bow down to me. Each of these words, matmana, manmana, madhavakto, madhyaji, namaskuru, they are not repetitive. Each word has a special meaning as we will see in the interpretations. Mam eva esyasi, and by doing what's going to happen, you will get me. Yuktva evam atmanam matparayanam, so you will become matparayanaha by becoming manamana, madhavakto, madhyaji, and by doing mat namaskaram kuru, mang namaskuru, esyasi tvam matparayanaha mam eva esyasi, how yutva evam atmanam, by collecting and organizing yourself and your mind in such a way where you are combining your attention on me with your devotion for me and your puja and your meditations and prayers for me with a complete surrender. Mam Namaskuru, you are going to get me. And who am I? I am Suddha Satta Chaitanya Swarupa. You're going to get me. What does that mean? All your names and forms, all the limitations which tend to cloud your mind and sort of the reality appears different from what exactly it is because of Maya. I have told you earlier, this Maya is very difficult to understand. It plays a lot of games. Only those who focus on me can understand the game of Maya. And Bhagavan is reassuring and concluding by saying the same thing, that by doing Mad Bhajana, Mat Bhakti, by being Matmana, and by being Madhyaji, you are going to get me. That means you will be able to overcome this whole Mayika Sansara and this Mayika Vastavata, whatever appears as real, and you will actually approach and realize what is real, that is Atma, that is me. That is how this chapter is coming. Let's look at how Shankaracharya explains the next verse, this last one. And this is a very beautiful one. Manamana, Mai Vasudeva Manahadasya Sa Tvam Manamana. Manmana, Mat Mana. So, Mai Vasudeva, whose mind is fully focused on me, he is Manmana. Bhava Tatha Madhavaktaha, and you be also Madhavakta. What does that mean? Madhyaji, and you do Mad Yajana Silaha Bhava. So you be have your bhakti or devotion in me and also do the pujas and karmas, whatever you want to do, you are free to do it, provided you remember me. Do not do that mistake of confusing me with my manifestations, different other gods and goddesses. We have already explained that earlier. The one who goes to Digha and takes a dip there, if he thinks it was a Digha bath, it is a Digha bath. If he thinks it's a dip in the Bay of Bengal, it is a bath in Bay of Bengal, then he has achieved his tirtha. Or it's a dip in the Indian Ocean. It's only how you look at it. So Bhagavan is saying, you, if you see me as a human being, then you are not becoming Manamana, Madhavakta, Madhyaji. You try to focus on me as Vasudevam Sarvam Idam Iti. Have that. Mam evasa namaskuru. Evan, and please bow down to me. Mam eva Ishwaram esyasi. And whom are you going to get if you do so? You will get me prapsyasi. Agamishyasi yuktva samadhaya chittam. Yuktva atmanam. By connecting your mind with me. What does that mean? Samadho, in the state of meditation. Because mind is not like a small piece of chocolate that you connect with me and I'm like a soup or something. You put that piece of chocolate into soup and that's going to be a crazy thing to have. No, not like that. Evam atmanam. Aham hi sarvesham bhutana atma paracha gatihi. What is that mat parayana? He's explaining. Aham is sarvesham bhutanam atma. I am Ishvara. So try to get this connection with me. Param jagatihi param ayanam. That particular param ayanam, parayanam, mat parayanam, the one who sort of is coming to, I am the destination for him. I am the way. And Jesus says in Bible, I am the path, I am the destination. Similarly, I am the truth, and I'm also the ways of knowing what is the truth. So same way here Bhagavan says, Param ayanam tam mam sarva bhutam esyasi iti atitena sambandha. So what Shankaracharya is saying, that you will get me how? You have to look at the whole verse. He's saying yuktva atmanam mat parayanam esyasi. So first you have to be matparayana. How? You will be matparayana by becoming manamana, madhavakta, and also being madhyaji. In addition to that, having done namaskara to me, complete surrender. Then, if you continue it like this, by connecting your mind with the reality called Brahman, called Parameshwara, in that condition you will become Matparayanaha. And by being Matparayanaha, Mam Eva Tvam Esyasi, you are surely going to get me. Matparayana san ityartha. Only after becoming Matparayana iti Srimad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Acharyasya Sri Govinda Bhagavat Pujya Pada Sisyasya Srimad Sankara Bhagavataha Krito Sri Bhagavad Gita Bhasye Navamo Adhyaya. So this is the end of this. Now I'm just reading a couple of words from our great Sri Ramanujacharya. There are one couple of lines very interesting. He's saying Mat Parayana means what? Aham eva param ayanam yasya aso mat parayana. The person who thinks I am the ultimate destination of him, he is mat parayana. Maya vina atma dharana asambhavanaya madasrayaha ityartha. So, atma dharana sambhavanaya mad asraya ityartha. So, he sort of, so you have to take mad asraya, because actually I'm not a physical place that you can come and live in me. Okay. So it's not like this, I'm a prasad or I'm a bungalow, you're going to come and stay. No, it's not that way. So you just take your ashraya in evam atmanam yuktva mat parayana tvam evam anavadika atisaya pritaya. So there is no greater love than your love for me. Can you experience that kind of love? Tad anuvava samartha. If you are able to have that kind of niratisaya prema for me, manaha prapya mam eva ishyasi. If you can have that sort of love for me, ananya bhakti, if you have, then of course you are going to get me. Atma sabdo hi atra mano vishayaha. Atma means what is that? Whatever is concerned with the mind. Evam rupena manasa mam dhyatva, by meditating on me in such a way, mam anubhuya, by experiencing who am I, mam ishtva, by seeking me, aspiring for me, mam namaskritya, by bowing down to me, mat parayanaha, by being mat parayana, by mad asrayaha, mam eva prapsyasi. Of course you're going to get me, because you are bringing in a divine tina factor. You know that tina, there is no alternative. Now, if you apply tina factor to Lord Krishna and the Bhagavad Bhakti becomes Ananya Bhakti, then of course you are going to get me. That's what Bhagavan says. Tad eva laukikani sarira dharanathani cha vaidikani nityam naimittikani karmani mat prityaye mat शेषता एक रसो मया एव कारित इति कुर्वन् सततं मत् कीर्ति कीर्तन यजन नमस्कारादिकान् नित्याकुर्वाणो मत् नित्याय नियाम्य निखिल जगत मत् शेषता एक रसम इति अनुसंधानः. Is a beautiful word. It's used in Vedanta again and again. Eka rasa, because we are not talking about too many qualities. It's just eka rasa, prajnana ghana, eka rasa. So you try to focus in that Satchidananda Rupa, that eka rasa, Suddha, Chaitanya Swarupa. by doing kirtana, bhajana, namaskara, everything, and mat nitya niyamyam, and in nikhila jagatam mat se sata ekarasamiti. All this jagat is kind of is controlled by me, and I'm that ekarasa which is all pervading and controlling this. If you have that sort of understanding, then it becomes maya eva karita iti kurvan satatam mad kirtana yadana namaskar digan pritya kurbana mad niyamyam nikhila jagatam jagat मत्स्य सता एक रसम इति अनुसंधानः अत्यर्थ प्रियम अद्भुत मद मद गुणगणम च अनुसंधाय अहरह. Now this is the Vaishnava thing coming in, and therefore I'm not taking that part too seriously. Let's look at because they will bring in these, it's like the Vaishnavas speak in a similar language like the Christians and the Muslims when it comes to God, because Ishwar for them, that Nama Rupa is also real. For Advaita Vedantis, these Nama Rupas are there, but there is even a greater thing which doesn't have any Nama Rupa. And we think the rest of it is just a inverted projection, but they call the Advaita Vedantis Mayavadis. They think the sansara is also real. And there are a lot of philosophical, logical problems with that sort of an approach. They say Bhagavan apne ichha se kuch bhi bana sakte hain. That is fine, but then that becomes very theological, and Vedanta, the Advaita Vedanta is extremely scientific. It's based on logic, based on argumentation, and based on the Upanishadic Vakyas. Okay, now let's look at how he's saying, our friend, you know, Madhusudana Saraswati, Raja Bhaktasyapi Raja Vrityasya Putrado Manaha Tatha Sa Manamana Api Na Tada Bhaktaha. Now he's explaining why has Bhagavan used this word Manamana and a Madhavakta and a Madhyaji. Don't you think it's a repetition? Bhagavan says no. Why? Because he's saying that let's imagine there is servant of a king. He's working in the palace. But is he all the time thinking about the palace? No, he's thinking about his son who is not well. And Ramakrishna Paramahansa gives this example of a house governess who is working in the house of a jamidar, a very rich Bengal jamidar. She's working. And then what happens is that she is all the time, she's taking care of the son of the jamidar. But the maid servant is all the time thinking about her own poor son back home. She's waiting for an opportunity to go back and kiss her own son, isn't it? But she's giving most of her time to the son of the Jamidar. Similarly, saying Sansara is like that son of Jamidar for a great bhakta. The real mind of a bhakta is always with Bhagavan. He will do social duties, go to do job and everything, but he looks for an opportunity. The Vaishnavas also talk about Parakya Priti, like the Gopikas will be thinking about Krishna even though they are with their husbands. There's nothing extramarital about it. What it means is that your material life, your everyday social life is like a marriage. Like you're very loyal to your wife and children and everything. But in case you're thinking about another girl, in case you're thinking about another boy outside of marriage, you keep it a secret. This is what the Vaishnavas call it Parakya Prema. It's very exciting, they say, because they're saying that you have to hide your love for Krishna. You have to keep it a secret. You cannot reveal it to anyone. Constantly think about God. Like a lady takes care of her husband, but she's all the time thinking about a young lover. Same way you think. So you can say that they're just giving it an emotional context. The real thing is that devotional matters, devotional, subjectivity is a very deeply private thing which cannot be shared with anyone. It's all yours. So manamana means you are preoccupied with me. You may be doing a social life, your children, your job, everything. Madhavakta is the counter example. The person may be taking care of his wife or his son, but he's not a devotee of his son. He's a devotee of Lord Bhagavan, or he's a devotee of the king. So you can be manmana without becoming madhavakta. So Bhagavan is saying that you be madhavakta, but at the same time also be manmana. You also think about me. So it's not only for 1 hour of prayer, but you are constantly looking for an opportunity to think about me. The second one is mad yaji. So you may be all this, but you may not be doing any karmas, niskama karmas, to purify your antakarana. So Bhagavan says you also do niskama karma, but surrender it to me and namaskuru. Why? Mam namaskuru. I'm doing all this. I'm doing pujanam. I'm your bhakta. I'm manamana. Then what else you need? Bhagavan says, namaskaram kuru. Surrender to me. It should be complete. Ananya bhav. Ananya chetaha. Then it's easy for me to help you, because that is the science. There's nothing called Bhagavan who will come and help you. The very magic of devotion starts working when the mind becomes fully focused on something. That is what is the secret here. That is the psychological secret here. That devotion itself brings in magic. And devotion doesn't mean you're thinking about somebody else. This whole process of being aware of your spiritual nature is what has the greatest transformative power on earth. Mam eva isyasi, you're going to get me. अपि न भक्त इत्यत उक्तं मनमना भव मद्भक्त इति तथा च मद्याजी मत्पूजनशिलो मां नमस्कुरु मनोवाक्यैः, by doing prayers and meditations. Evam evihi prakaraihi matparayano mad eka sharanam, by being steadfast in your surrender to me. Eka sharanam, not 24, don't think about 24 gurus like Dattatreya mentions. You be completely dedicated to Sriman Narayana or Krishna or whatever, Parameshwar, it could be Lord Shiva, depending on what attracts you. San Atmanam Antakaranam. What is that Matparayanam? And Atmanam, he's saying, na, Yuktvat Atmanam. That Atmanam is Antakaranam. That is your mind. By doing that is the whole Patanjali thing we studied in chapter 6. So chapter 9 is ending with the advice given in chapter 6. Yuktva Mai Samadhaya. By having samadhi in me, Mam Eva Paramananda Ghanam. You shall get me. Paramananda Ghanam. I am, a compact mass of limitless bliss. Swaprakasham, self-luminous. Sarva upadrava shunyam, free from any difficulties, distractions, any fall, any disintegration. Abhayam esyasi, and you will give freedom from dveta dvayaha. All fear emanates out of difference and distinction. You may be in a forest. You are scared of what? Tiger might come, a pickpocket, or a guy might come to attack you. But if you know it's only you which is existing in that ultimate thing, dveta dvayaha, you will be abhaya. That's what he's saying. Esyasi prapsyasi. And then he's quoting a particular verse, I don't know from where. Sri Govinda Padaravindam. So, Sri Govinda Bhagavan, Padaravinda is Padakamala, the lotus feet. Makaranda, Makaranda is again, that flower, that honey in the flower. Makaranda, Aswada Suddhasayaha. So, when you take his name and that honey you are tasting, how are you tasting it? By allowing in your mind the sweet name of the Lord and by remembering his lotus feet. That is the honey. It flows in your mind, and you have that Suddhasayaha. Sansarambudhim utaranti. Once that happens, your mind is full of the nectar of holy name. You can overcome, you can cross over this whole ocean of sadness, temporary happiness, agony, janma mrityu, everything, this sansara, ambudhi, this whole sagara. Sahasa Pashyanti Punnam Maha. Punnam Maham is here. That's Punnam Swayam Jyotihi, that Param Brahma. So Sahasa, very quickly, a person, that sort of a adhikari, that sort of a bhakta, reaches me. Vedantehi avadharayanti. And these kind of devotees, how do they become sure that they have crossed over the samsara and they have reached me? No, there is no proof. They might feel like that. That proof lies in the Vedanta Vakyas. That by doing this sadhana, you will reach there. That is what is the motivating factor. That is what is the Shastriya proof. Paramam Shreyas Tyajanti Brahmam. So they get that Shreya thing, ultimate truth. They accept and they meditate on it. Tyajanti Brahmam. This sansara is Satya. All this is real. That delusion falls. Dvaitam swapna samam bindanti, and they discard this whole experience of life as if it's a dream. They discard it. Bimalam Vindanti cha Anandatam. And then they are able to experience that ultimate bliss called freedom. Why? Because they have started taking my name. It is Srimad Paramahansa Paribhajaka Sri Vishwesara Saraswati Pada Sisya. Madhusudan Saraswati was the Sisya of Vishweswara Saraswati. Srimad Madhusudana Saraswati Virachita Virachitayam Srimad Bhagavad Gita Gurhartha Dipikayam Adhikari Bhedena Raja Vidya Raja Gurhya Yoga Namam Navamodhyayaha. So that is how we have come to the end of the chapter 9. So what we will do tomorrow is a rehash that has been our standard practice in order to sort of uh, go forward without any further confusion. We'll quickly do a summary of chapter 9 tomorrow. Day after is Sunday, we have a day off and we'll reassemble on Monday for chapter 10. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can ask. I'm going to bring the YouTube thing to an end now.